What is up, Dallas Cowboys fans? Welcome into another Dallas Cowboys Daily Blitz podcast right here on FanStream Sports. Welcome into a Tuesday morning. Good morning to you. In the world of Dallas Cowboys land, big freaking news coming down the pipe yesterday afternoon, as the Cowboys did something completely unexpected, at least by me and most everyone I have talked to. I don't know how many shows that we did in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks about contract situations. And one of the biggest of those is defensive tackle Quinnen Williams. Would the Cowboys pay Quinnen? We knew that they figured that they would, given what they gave up to get him. He was not certainly a short-term rental piece for them. At least they didn't see him that way. But I don't, what was it? Just the middle of last week, I believe I did one of these shows, and I said something about they're going to do what they always do, like they did with Zeke, like they did with Micah, like they did with Dak, like they did with CD. They're going to wait too long until it's completely priced out of their budget, or they have to overpay. Well, guess what? I was wrong. We were all wrong about what was going on with Quinnen Williams, as the Cowboys have made a massive financial statement. Not with Dak, not with CD, not with George Pickens. But Williams has just been handed a 3-year, $105.9 million contract extension, including a massive amount of guaranteed money. It's just a tick over $35 million a year for an interior defensive lineman. And while the deal is obviously about locking up Williams as one of the best defensive tackles in the game, there is another question now that we should be asking ourselves and each other. What does this mean, if anything, for George Pickens? Because I think the answer tells us a lot about how the Cowboys view their future here. First, let's understand something very important. The Cowboys did not have to extend Quinnen Williams. He was already under contract, not just for 2026, but through 2027. The Cowboys certainly could have waited, which is kind of what I predicted, at least past 2026. They could have played the leverage game. They could have kicked the financial decision down the proverbial road as they've done in the past. But instead, they were aggressive, and they stepped up and they paid him. And that tells you something. When the Cowboys decide somebody is actually part of their core, they will spend the money. And they will spend it now instead of waiting. They'll guarantee money to that guy. And they'll lock that player up early. So now compare that with what they did with George Pickens. Pickens is playing the 2026 season on the franchise tag, $27.3 million, all guaranteed. And because the deadline for tagged players to sign long-term deals has long passed, Dallas can't even negotiate with Pickens until after the season's over. So, no, the Quinnen Williams deal does not technically stop the Cowboys from extending George Pickens today. They couldn't do that anyway. We already knew that. But this deal absolutely matters when we start talking about willingness, because Pickens already gave Dallas a huge season. 93 catches, 1,429 yards, 9 touchdowns. That is elite production. That's not maybe this guy can be a number one receiver type production. That is superstar production. And Dallas still looked at him and said, we need you to do it again. And that's the difference here. Quinnen Williams gets certainty. George Pickens gets another audition. Now, financially, can the Cowboys still afford Pickens? Yes. Salary caps are flexible. And the Cowboys have been astute, is that the right word, at being flexible with the salary cap? look, you can restructure deals, you can move bonus money around, you can push cap hits down the road into later seasons. If Jerry and Steven decide tomorrow that George Pickens is one of their core guys, they can find a way. The question isn't whether they can. The question is whether they want to. Dallas is already paying CD elite money. They're paying Dak elite money. Now they're giving Quinnen Williams $35+ million a year. So at some point, roster building becomes about choices. And Pickens just might be approaching that point where Dallas has to decide if they want to pay 2 elite receivers and if that is the best use of their resources, especially if Pickens has another monster year, which I'm thinking more and more, barring an injury, he absolutely will. But think about the leverage that the Cowboys will have. Let's say Pickens gets another 1,300 or 1,400 year receiving. Double-digit touchdowns, maybe even makes the Pro Bowl. At that point, Pickens is not walking into negotiations looking for just a nice contract. He is looking for top-of-the-market, number 1 wide receiver money. And by God, he'd probably deserve it. I mean, we're talking about more than $30 million a year. And that's where things start to get fascinating here. Dallas would have 3 realistic options, I think. Option 1, you pay the dude. Given the massive extension, commit huge money to him alongside CeeDee Lamb. Option 2, they can use the franchise tag again. The second consecutive tag would cost roughly 20% more than this current tag, which means Pickens would be making somewhere 32, just short of $33 million a year, guaranteed for that one season in 2027. Expensive? Yep. But it still avoids another long-term contract. Option 3 here, just let him walk. Let him go away. Let him sign somewhere else. And after the Quinnen Williams extension, I think that possibility now feels a little more realistic than I think it was before. Because this deal showed us something. It showed us that the Cowboys have a hierarchy. And Quinnen Williams is clearly in that long-term core. Dak Prescott is in it. CeeDee Lamb is in it. And right now, George Pickens appears to be still standing outside of that core. Can he force his way in with another really good year? Maybe. It's possible. But it's something as Cowboys fans, we need to watch very closely. Because every big Pickens game this season makes him not just more valuable to Dallas, makes him more expensive to keep. And that's the strange part of all of this. The better Pickens plays, the harder the decision and the more expensive that decision becomes. And after paying Williams over $100 million, the Cowboys have made one thing abundantly clear. They're willing to spend an enormous amount of money. They're just being very selective about who gets it. And that's okay. I actually like that. By January, we're going to find out if George Pickens has become one of those guys. So let me know what you guys think. If you're watching one of the live videos, leave me a message in the comments section here. We'll get to comments in one of the later shows and probably make comments a whole show by itself, I think. You guys have deserved that. If you're listening to the recorded podcast, find me on social media at IndyCarTim, everywhere that you can find social media, usually X, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Leave me a message. Love to converse with you briefly. Or you are able to use our FanStream Sports Studio text line 214-937-0569. Just send us a text from your phone, tablet, house phone, if you can do that. I don't know, wherever you're texting from. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and what your question or comment is. I would love to interact. I interact with a lot of folks on that FanStream Sports Studio text line. Would love to talk to you there. We'll do it all again tomorrow morning, boys and girls, if we've got some more on the Quinnen Williams thing or other Cowboys breaking news or camp stuff. Be happy to talk to you about that tomorrow on the Dallas Cowboys Daily Blitz right here on FanStream Sports. Until then, boys and girls, I'm IndyCarTim. We'll see you.